Welcome back, my friends. By the way, to the growing multitudes who are liking and subscribing and watching these little talks on YouTube, first of all, a heartfelt thank you. Of course, to my Zoom friends, they're my besties, but a growing flock of YouTubers are watching these little talks, maybe in bemused uh, curiosity, but hopefully it's touching a chord. And so thank you for liking and subscribing. It makes a huge difference. It tickles the algorithm. And if there's one thing I love, it's having my algorithm tickled. So thank you for liking and subscribing. If you leave a comment for Looney Cat, he's my secretary and he returns all the calls. Well, now what am I going to say? How about the topic this week is our next spiritual awakening, our next astonishing, vast, extraordinary revelation and psychic change. Yay. Now, I used a line at the start of our meditation warm up, and I kind of misquoted it because I'm a misquoter and little misquoter. And it's something along the lines of it's our Father's great good pleasure to pour out his blessings. And I looked it up, and it's God's love source, great pleasure to pour out his kingdom to his kids. Just like if you're a parent, and most of you are parents, you you have great joy and delight in showering your children with the very, very, very best. There's really nothing, from what I've heard, I'm not a parent, but I know a few parents. I had at least one, that it's a parent's glorious joy to pour out blessings to their kids. And so I think one of the ways that we wake up our own consciousness to a greater and more accurate, more truthful understanding of God is how it's source, God, Creator's great pleasure to pour out to us the absolute kingdom, all the greatest joys and goodness, and how important it is to believe and remember that. But if that's the case, well, come on, God. It's like, cough it up, man. Here I am. It's like, hit me up with all that good, all those great blessings. So why is it, if it's a parent's great pleasure to pour out their blessings to their kid, how come the kid is not receiving it? Man, that is a serious question. But if you're trying to give something to your kids and they're not receiving it, usually it's some sort of resistance, isn't it? Resistance. Resistance seems to be the veritable devil, doesn't it? The devil is in the details of resistance. We engage in some sort of self-will or resistance or struggle or tension or anxiety that prevents us from receiving these great blessings. Rats. So it seems to me like the great art and science of life is how we become more and more receptive, how we get ourselves more and more aligned. Of course, alignment is synonymous with the word yoga. Alignment, being in the flow, allowing it in, letting go of anxiety. But how do you struggle to become more receptive? It's paradoxical, isn't it? And of course, one of the very greatest, if not the greatest answers that I have to constantly be reminded of myself because I have a built-in forgetter is that tied for first of the ways to become receptive to God pouring out his great good pleasures and benefits in our own lives is, are you ready for it? Are you sitting down? The best way to receive is to give. Now, I'm not saying you're not giving. I know all of you are the kindest, most generous, giving people, but it's so easy to forget this. I have to be constantly reminded of this by my friends in the recovery movement that sometimes I just get so wrapped up in Greg's world and getting my needs met and what I want and arranging everything perfectly and getting everything how I like it that I simply forget to give. And there's always more giving to be done. And we can all, and now giving doesn't necessarily mean going to the soup kitchen, but of course, nothing wrong with that. But giving can be a smile. It can be being cheerful. It can be giving a friend a compliment. It could be looking out for the concerns of others. It could be teaching what you're very best at in the world for free down at the local element. There's a billion, there's no, There's an infinite number of ways to give. I cannot be reminded of this enough. And that if it seems like my next spiritual epiphany, awakening, expansion is kind of like delayed, it's like lost in the mail somewhere. Yo, God, come on, let's go. Maybe the reason I'm not fully receptive is that I'm just not giving, and that um, I don't know. I needed to hear that message today. I know all of you are great givers, but I think we all have literally an infinite capacity to give. And if it's just the goodness of our heart, how about forgiveness? How about letting go of a grudge? How about smiling the time we hold the door open? All these things that this is obviously a first person communication, but to give love instead of judgment, to give kindness instead of difficulty, to give forgiveness rather than resistance. Anyway, love you guys a lot. Thank you for all you do, and we'll see you all tomorrow.